Let us take a listen to what he says, and then I'll give a response.
Enoch is never considered scripture by the Jews, but ends up in the Ethiopian Bible. And part of
Ethiopian Bible.
so the Ethiopian church has is like a wing of, you have these different sort of overarching denominations of Christendom. You have today Protestants, Eastern Orthodox, Coptic, Roman Catholic, and then the Ethiopian church. And the Ethiopian church, we know that around the 4th century, missionaries from Syria went down to what then was referred to as the Kingdom of Aksum, which is in modern-day Ethiopia, and they brought with them a whole host of literature. And part of this literature was New Testament books in Greek and the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, which at that point was finalized. And the Ethiopian church took all of this literature, which included literature that nobody considered scripture at the time, and they appear to have just been non-discretionary and included everything. So all of the debates that were happening in the Latin West and the Greek East about what was and wasn't scripture, they looked at that and they said, we're not really interested in that. We'll just take everything. So in being non-discretionary, they end up just canonizing everything, which leaves them with a canon of scripture that is completely unique and includes books like Enoch, which the ancient Jews and every ancient Christian didn't, well, actually, I should preface that. There were a couple of early Christians who said, we think this could be scripture, but then they accept when, all the debates happen that, okay, those are pretty good reasons, we're not going to accept it in the end. And so I don't know where the idea came from, but there is definitely a prevailing myth on the internet that the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest Bible. And that's not true. In fact, the oldest copy of the Ethiopian Bible, which is full in terms of a Genesis to Revelation copy, is 14th century. So it's a long, long time.
Wesley Huff starts by saying that the book of Enoch, which is considered canon in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, was never considered canon by the Jews. But this is a dismissive approach. It's not careful, because even though the book of Enoch is not considered canon, we know that Jude, Yehuda, in the New Testament quotes Enoch. And not only that, but there was a sect of Jews, the Essenes, who regarded it as being sacred, if not canon. And we know this because fragments of the book of Enoch were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So we know that Jude, or Yehuda, and the first Christians were all Jews, and the Essenes were also a sect of Jews. The other thing that we know is that there was a presence of Judaism in Ethiopia in the times of Christ and before the times of Christ, because now there's genetic evidence that shows that there was a migration from ancient Israel during the First Temple period to Ethiopia. And the Ethiopian Orthodox Church itself is heavily Jewish and has retained and preserved practices that are full-on Jewish and that date back to the First Temple period, like the procession of the Ark of the Covenant. The Abyssinian population of Ethiopia is also partly Semitic. The language is Semitic and contains Hebrew and ancient Semitic words in it. The other evidence is in the book of Acts, the Ethiopian eunuch who traveled to Jerusalem from ancient Ethiopia, or that general region. He was an official. He was approached by Saint Philip, who converted him to Christianity. But what was he doing? He was reading the book of Isaiah, which is in the Hebrew Bible, which means that the Ethiopians had the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible before converting to Christianity. Not only that, he went to Jerusalem to worship, which means that he was practicing Judaism. So this shows that the ancient Ethiopians, or the Ethiopian kingdom at the time, was either Jewish or had the Jewish scriptures and was practicing Judaism. And there's also genetic evidence that ancient Israelites or Semitic people from the times of King Solomon or the First Temple period migrated to Ethiopia, and there was a Jewish presence in Ethiopia up until the time of the conversion to Christianity. The other thing is that there's no official claim that the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest Bible. It is absurd to attach the oldest Bible to any specific church or any specific country. But there's something else that is true. The oldest illuminated Bible, the Garima Gospels, are Ethiopian. The oldest illuminated Bible is Ethiopian. The Garima Gospels are dated to the 4th century. The other thing that Wesley Huff said was that there were Syrian missionaries that went to Ethiopia in the 4th century. That is true. But they were actually refugees that were accepted and received in the Ethiopian kingdom. Ethiopia was declared a Christian empire in the 4th century, before the conversion of Rome. The mistake that Wesley Huff is making here is that the Ethiopians accepted all the scriptures that the Syrians brought and accepted them as canon, but that's not true. For example, the Apocalypse of Peter, an ancient Christian text, is not considered canon in the Ethiopian church, but it's considered sacred literature. And there are many other texts or sacred texts like that are not considered canon in the Ethiopian church. They are considered hagiographies or sacred texts. The reason that books like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, ancient Jewish sacred texts, are considered canon in the Ethiopian church is because the Ethiopian church believed that they were part of the ancient Hebrew canon prior or during the times of Jesus. Another thing that Wesley Huff omits is that the only reason that we have a full version of the Book of Enoch today, or a full version of the Book of Jubilees, ancient Jewish scripture, is because the Ethiopian Orthodox Church preserved and canonized these texts for thousands of years. So one thing is for sure, the oldest illuminated Bible, the Garima Gospels, is Ethiopian. And the Ethiopian church has preserved not only ancient Jewish texts, but also Jewish practices that date back to the First Temple period, to the times of King Solomon. And this needs to be studied carefully. Another omission is that the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is part of the broader Oriental Orthodox Church. The Coptic Church, the Syrian Orthodox Church, the Armenian Orthodox Church, the Indian Malankara Orthodox Church, the Eritrean Orthodox Church, all of these are sister churches. They are the ancient Christian church. If you'd like to know more about the secrets of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, what it has preserved, and its connection to ancient Judaism, read my book. You can find it on Amazon. See the title, Reason and the Sacred and Ethiopian Metaphysics. This is Ted Lamalaku. Thank you.